Hello, everybody. How you doing today? My name is Eric Greenstein with SoFlo Real Estate Investors. Tonight we have a really good set. Um, really excited to have. We have Eddie Colson joining us tonight. He will be talking about wholesaling, basically just wholesaling 101. From what I've talked to him previously, he's extremely knowledgeable in that area, and he's also knowledgeable in creative financing. So we're really happy to have him on today, and I want to thank him for coming, and also everyone else that's on here tonight. Thank you for your time. Thank you for coming on, and really looking forward to hearing Eddie. So real quick, SoFloREI.com. You can check out this video after it's posted. Feel free to go on there, ask any questions, etc. Our next videos will be posted on there as well. But no further ado, Eddie, how you doing, man?
I'm great, man. How you doing?
Wonderful.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I wanted to before we dive into the questions, could you just go over your background and go over your experiences with us and how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, sure. So I got started in real estate pretty young. Me and my stepfather, me and him was having a argument. It was a pretty big, epic one about cleaning my room, and it was pretty big enough that he decided to kick me out. So when I got kicked out, I was moving from place to place, couch surfing with different friends. And my boxing mentor at the time, my boxer trainer at the time, found out that I got kicked out, said, you can't just be out on the streets. Come stay at the house that's on the same property as the gym and stay there. So I stayed there for a while. While I was there, I was reading a lot of books, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Think and Grow Rich, things like that. And it was actually Rich Dad Poor Dad was the book that my mom was reading. She was a horrible highlighter, highlighted everything on the book. You're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to highlight the points.
Sure.
So, I read it. It really inspired me, made me say, okay, well, my cash flow, I don't have much cash flow. I was working at Giant Pharmacy at the time. I wanted to be a pharmacist. I was making like $7,500 a year. It just made me start thinking about just the cash flow, financial statement, income versus expenses and the assets, liabilities, and all that good stuff. And one day I was driving and I was listening to the radio and I heard that Rich Dad Poor Dad was coming to Baltimore. So I'm like, okay, it's cool, great. Like I'm gonna go. I went there and there was this young guy. It wasn't, Robert Kiyosaki who I thought it would be, but it was a young guy. He was on there talking about different ways that you can invest in real estate. And he talked about wholesaling, said that you can put a property on a contract and then flip it and you don't have to use your money or your own credit. And I'm like, shit, that sounds great. I'm making $7,500 a year right now. I would love to do that. So, at the time, I had to borrow the money. So at the end, it was like, hey, we're going to have a 3-day seminar. Come, and it's $300. So I had to borrow $300 because I was just so broke to even go. So I went to the seminar for 3 days. They went through so much, every single thing, rehabbing, landlording, but they went through it so quickly and you didn't really have time to ask so many questions. So at the end, they said, look, you're going to need a mentor. We highly suggest it. You don't got to go with us, but you need to go with someone. We charge $25,000. And people was pulling out their wallets, doing everything. And I'm like, I can't afford that. But they gave me a game plan on how to find a mentor. So they said, look, they have different meetups out there. They have REI meetings almost in every state. Go to one of those and find somebody out there that can help you. So I went there. I saw somebody that went to my high school. He pointed me out in the direction of the 2 different people that mentor in wholesaling. So I went with one that I felt like, was the best fit. I interned with him for 6 months at his office, helped him close different deals and things like that. And at the end, he asked me, hey, you want to stay on and be my acquisition manager or you want to go out, do your own thing? I say, honestly, I kind of want to go out, do my own thing, but, obviously I still want to do deals with you. So I went, did my own thing. It took me like 6 months to close my first deal because I really think it was because of my mindset. I started watching the movie The Secret. And I applied every single thing that the movie Secret said, vision boards, words of affirmation, surrounding myself with the right people, like Bobby talked about earlier, and then like out of nowhere, I started closing deals. I finally started closing deals, and then I closed my first deal was a JV deal with another wholesaler that had a deal on a contract. I brought the buyer, and then the other three came that same month, kind of like came out of nowhere. So so I did 3 deals in that same month, for my first ones.
Awesome, man. Great story. Rich Dad Poor Dad I read as well. I actually didn't read it. I audibled it and listened to it because I tend to not really read books for some reason. When I'm looking at a page and I'm reading a book, it doesn't get in my mind. So that's just me. We all learn different ways. So yeah, awesome book. Beautiful, man. Love that story. Excellent. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna hop into the questions. All right.
Sure.
First, what is wholesaling? Right. Like, if I were to get into wholesaling today, like, what would you suggest, basically, to like, how would you start? Right. How would I start wholesaling deals?
Okay. So number one, wholesaling is basically when you have you're basically being the middleman, right? And you're looking for motivated sellers, not necessarily distressed properties. A lot of times people say distressed properties, but I like to focus on the people. You're looking for motivated people, right? Somebody that really needs to sell their house for whatever reason, um, marriage, financial, whatever, ghost in the house, whatever, right? Um, and you happen to know that this seller, Susan, has a property on 123 Main Street that they want to sell. And you happen to know that landlords and rehabbers are buying houses over there for around 60,000, right? You go to Susan, you say, look, Susan, I can give you $50,000 cash. We can close in 30 days or less. And they agree. Maybe you go back and forth, but they agree to 50K. You then, you have 30 days. It's not like you're just buying and selling shoes. You usually have 30 days to close on a property. Within that 30 days, you can then market the property to a buyer, rehabber, a landlord. And because you know that rehabbers and landlords buying for 60,000, you go to, Mr. Bobby, and Bobby says, yes, I'll buy this property for 60,000. Because you had it on a contract for 50, you now make $10,000 at closing. So that's pretty much wholesaling in itself. What you're really doing, though, is you're assigning your rights to that purchase and sale agreement. So you're really selling paper as opposed to the property, just to let you know. So you do have equitable interest, because the way I always look at wholesaling, you put yourself in a position where you're actually trying to buy the property. However, you don't always have the resources to take down every single deal. So let's say I find that property with Susan, and that property was a good property, it was a good deal. I wanted to keep it at 50, but I wanted to also have another exit strategy, which is real estate 101, have multiple exit strategies to wholesale it. But then I find this other property that's even a way better deal, slam dunk. The other property, it was a good deal, but this one's a sweet deal. So I'm going to keep that property. And I don't have the manpower, the contractors, the lenders, whatever, to take down both. So I'll wholesale the other one, and then I'll keep this one. So it's a way for you to have another exit strategy.
Love that. Yeah.
What was the other question? The question, how would I suggest somebody get into it?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So the best way to get into real estate wholesaling, lots of different ways. YouTube University. I definitely would suggest getting a mentor. You can go to a meetup, and just network and just ask people around and see if somebody can mentor you. It's really just seeking information and mentoring, and then taking action, massive action. So um, I don't believe in just getting knowledge. I believe in applied knowledge. So always apply knowledge as soon as you get it. So that would be my thing. It's just go after it and learn it and then do it.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you on that. Action is, I feel like, a step one, for real estate in general. Also,
Yeah.
I like how you mentioned about exit strategies, right? I know that that wholesaling is an exit strategy, and I know that you're also into creative financing as well. Could you just touch a little bit based on other exit strategies that you've done personally?
Yeah, sure. So, what I love about creative financing and wholesaling as a pair, as a marriage, is that wholesaling teaches you, like Ricardo was saying, he wants to get direct to the seller. He wants to talk directly to that person. And the reason why you want to do that is because when you're talking to the decision maker, to the person, as opposed to a realtor or whoever who has their own interests, their own commission that they're trying to get or whatnot, you're able to negotiate terms that are favorable between you and the seller. So sometimes you might go to a realtor and say, hey, and I'll tell you what terms and creative financing means, but hey, what creative financing makes sense? And the realtor's like, nah, they don't want to do that. But they haven't even asked, they haven't even talked to them, you know what I mean? Or maybe they wouldn't be able to communicate it right, maybe as well. So knowing how to actually get in front of a seller and directly talk to them is very powerful. And I believe that's what wholesaling teaches you. When you're going in front of a seller, I like to make multiple offers, at least two offers: a payment over time arrangement offer, a payment over time offer, or a cash offer. So creative financing is basically, instead of going to a bank, qualifying for a loan, using your credit and whatnot to get a mortgage, put down 20% and all that good stuff. Instead, what you're doing is you're going to the seller and say, hey, are you willing to do a payment over time arrangement? Well, what does that mean, Eddie? Basically an X amount of dollars over an X amount of years, So instead, I'll give you, especially if they're a landlord. Landlords love this because they're used to cash flow. And if they don't have to worry about being the manager of the property or fixing toilets or whatever, they'll love this cash flow. So you say, look, I'll give you $700 for 7 years, 10 years, 30 years, 20 years, whatever. We can do a balloon payment where we pay you that amount 10 years, and in 10 years, we pay you off, and that's what a balloon payment is. Whether we sell it or we get another loan to refinance you out of that loan. So it's just basically being creative, thinking outside of the box. And it's usually through a payment over time arrangement. Sometimes you put a down payment like 10,000, 5,000. You try and do it a lot less than you would with a bank. But there are times when you don't have to put anything down. It's whatever you and the seller agree upon, and that's what's really powerful about creative financing.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely, I agree with you. We're gonna move on to the second question. That was a little bit long. My apologies about that.
Oh, no worries. You good.
So,
I'm not gonna do, bro. Whatever
No. I mean, I appreciate it, man. I mean, like I said, like your wealth of knowledge is there, and I'm happy to have you on here, especially with the group as well. Um, I always ask this question because there's always there's a lot of negatives, but there's a lot of problems in real estate, right? That no one ever really talks about. It's always rainbows and butterflies. It seems like so. Explain if you can the worst deal, and also explain the best deal.
Oh yeah, sure. So the worst deal I've ever had, I actually was talking about this not too long ago. So it was my first rental property that I ever bought. So I, wholesaling for like a good 2 years now. And then I had made a goal to make 20K a month. I made that goal doing wholesaling, and then I spent all that money. It was a lot for me. I remember I started at 18, so I'm 19 years old now, and I'm getting 20K a month. I'm not used to it, So I kind of blew it all. It was around Christmas, my birthday time, and I was having a conversation with my mentor, and I'm kind of venting. I'm like, man, I'm kind of like, I spent all this money. I think I know that guy, Maru. How you doing, man?
Guys?
So I spent all that money, and I had a conversation with my mentor, and he said, look, you need to actually own rental properties. You need to start buying properties and getting that cash flow, because you don't want to solely focus on wholesaling. I don't know too many people who are 50, 60 years old and still wholesaling to this day. And I was like, well, that's a great point. He's like, yeah, because you need cash flow. You need, the rental income coming in. So I was like, okay, cool. So I made a goal, said, look, I'm gonna buy my first rental property. And I started learning about creative financing. Got a mentor, taught me a lot, everything about creative financing. And did everything that the wholesaling, I was doing with wholesaling, sent out some letters, postcards. and this lady said that she wanted to sell her property. Got it at a great price, subject to, if you guys are familiar, subject to is when you're buying a property and the mortgage stays in the seller's name and you're buying the property subject to the original loan. And then you keep that property. It's a lot more intricacies that comes with it that, you know, is a little sophisticated, but it's a powerful way to buy properties, right? Bought that property, great, at a great deal and whatnot. And then I found the tenant, and this is where I went wrong. I found a bad tenant. I didn't really screen her that well. I looked her up, but I didn't look her up thoroughly. I did everything bad. I did everything wrong. And my ego was a little hurt because I'm like, here I'm this guy, kind of started getting a name for myself. I'm supposed to know what I'm doing. And I just messed up horribly. When, you know, she put down a down payment. After that, she didn't pay at all. She was in there for like a good year. I was fighting her in court, but there were certain things that I couldn't do. Wow. Because she just knew the law better than me. She was just one of those people that just knew the law. And when I finally got her out, first off, mind you, when this all happened, I was mildly depressed after this because I put like my IRA money and, you know, I was smart enough to start an IRA right when I graduated high school. But, you know, it was still it was a hit to me because it was like, you know, I was saving like half of my check when I was working at the bank. And I put that money to the repairs. So when she left, the entire house was roach infested. She abandoned her dog there. You know, I had to do all types. It was just horrible. And I was totally embarrassed. So my mentor at the time, he said, look, you know, you need to snap out of it. Everybody goes through these type of stuff. There's always a property that happens, and you're going to have to just, you know, take it on the chin, take it as an L and keep moving. And that conversation really helped me. And I was just like, all right, cool, snap out of it. And now when I really look back on it, I realized that it was really a huge lesson and a huge blessing for me to learn, because now, I know all the laws. Like I know exactly, I know what judges to go in front of when I have evictions, which ones not to go. So it was a huge learning experience. But it was definitely a you know, a really bad experience at first. But now that property, I own it now. We still own it. You know, it's cash flowing, it's doing well. So working out well now. The best property. So the best property that I purchased, it was another creative financing type of deal. So I sent out a letter. There was this lady, I really connected with her, really, really nice lady. She was actually having, she had ulcers. No, she had shingles. She had shingles. I didn't know what that was at the time. And I got an education on what it was. It was pretty bad. She owned 2 properties. She owned properties all over the country, really, but she owned 2 properties in Baltimore. A wholesale one of them was like in the hood, wasn't nothing. And then the other one I looked at, I happened to look it up on the MLS, and she sent me the pictures, and it didn't need any work. And then I looked it up on the MLS, and mind you, this same area that this property was in, I've wholesaled in before. So I used to, you know, it was selling for like 40,000 in that area. And then I'll go on the MLS and I'm seeing properties sell for like 30,000, 40,000, but then I'm seeing 300,000 and 500,000. And then I'm seeing 200,000, 100,000. And then I'm seeing 10. And I'm just like, I gotta go see this, you know? And if you know anything about Baltimore is very block by block, right? So on one block is very, very nice, you know, homeowners, people running around with their dogs in short shorts, you know, and then down the street, they're selling drugs. You know what I mean? It's completely different, like literally down the street, walking distance. So that's how Baltimore is. So you got to really know the block. So I was like, okay, this is one of them properties where I bet you this is a block by block type of area, and I need to go and put my eyes on it. I went there, looked at it. Man, that property was great. It was immaculate. It was a 2-unit property. Upstairs is 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. Downstairs is a 1 bedroom. Down the street, you got University of Maryland School of Pharmacy, dentistry, all these different school things, and that's really big in Baltimore. It's like John Hopkins and, you know, those type of things. So it was like around like, you know, just that area. So I offered her a creative financing, owner finance. She owned it free and clear. Unfortunately, the thing with this property, she owed a lot in taxes. So I had some money saved up from the wholesale checks. I had to pay her taxes. The first year I said, look, you know, I'm still going to have to fix things up here and there. I'm the first year I need to amend the payments, basically defer the payments, not make any payments for the first year. But I can pay you $500 a month for however what amount. With $50,000 was the purchase price, so I purchased it for $50,500 a month. First year, don't make any payments. And the upstairs I Airbnb'd, downstairs I lived in, so I house hacked. I lived in downstairs, pay rent free, all that good stuff. It's a beautiful area, nice, it's just a really up and coming area. And then later I ended up selling it, and then I made close to 100 and so thousand once I sold it. So that was, and while I had it, the Airbnb was popping. So that was probably the best deal that I've had.
Awesome, man. That sounds like a great property. I wish, yeah, one day it will come down here in South Florida. Man, I kind of have a feeling, but
Unfortunately, I forgot to say the seller actually died because when you do owner financing, you gotta get them to sign a release at closing once you decide to sell it. So when I had to sell the property, I had to find her and I couldn't find her. And then, my payments was being sent automatically. So I can see that she's cashing the checks, but it was her and her husband that owned it. So her husband was cashing the checks. And then I had to go, she lived in Virginia. I had to drive down to Virginia, knock on the door. And then that's how I found out that she died. And it was really sad because she was really nice. I really liked her. But my mom's a nurse, and she said, yeah, people with shingles don't usually live that long. But I didn't know, so yeah.
I talk about Airbnb. That's what I did in my last property, and I did it from afar. So I had my locks all done. I can unlock it through my phone, Nest, all the above, and I mean it worked out. But I learned a lot from that property. Kind of like that was actually my mistake property because I emotionally purchased it. It was on the water. I was like, oh, on the water. I always wanted a house on the water, but I didn't run my numbers, and here I am, learned a bunch from that, and never doing it again. So I dove deep on that, and I'm ready for the next one. But absolutely, man, that property sounds cash flow king right there, man.
Yeah, definitely.
So we're gonna move on to the third question. And this question I do also ask, but it's interesting how obviously real estate is a business, right? And we run it as a business, or we should run it as a business. So, what kind of software do you use, or processes do you have for your own strategies, etc., for your own business? Is there any like specific it's like specific softwares that you use that would benefit someone else?
Yeah. So Podio definitely. I use Podio a lot just to keep track of, my leads and whatnot. PropStream I use for leads. I like to go after my leads specifically though, like failure to pays. I love failure to pays. Just a little tip: if y'all want some free leads, you can go to the district court, and the district court. So when a tenant isn't paying and the landlord wants to evict them, they do a failure to pay. They write down the property and whatnot, and then they usually put their phone number. I think they have to put their phone number, or else it's like null and void or something like that. Yeah. And that's public record. So you can go to district court. You can say pinks, yellows, or whatever, and then you can cold call those people. So just a little tip. So I use that, and then they usually have the emails, and then what I'll do is I'll take those emails or whatever emails, and whenever I talk to somebody, I'll always try and get their email the first time I talk to them, because it's just harder to get it afterwards. So that way I can send them a contract through Sign or Sign Now. It's kind of like DocuSign. And then I use any email that the people haven't used. I use that, and then I go into Facebook and I do a lookalike audience on Facebook ads. So I do a lot of Facebook ads to find leads as well. And then I also use like easy texting for text blasting and things like that. I stayed away. I haven't done RVMs in a while, but I've done those. And Yeah, man. I mainly cold call. I'm more of a cold call, and I have cold callers as well. Other cold callers that cold call for me, and then we communicate through Podio.
Perfect. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking of softwares that I've used. I mean, Cozy I use for property management. But yeah, some of the props like I heard of PropStream. PropStream is I heard that's really good.
Yeah.
I haven't used it, but I've seen that it works pretty well, huh?
Yeah, it works well, man. I try and stick to the simple. Like I try and make things very simple. My thing is I have a goal of how many offers I make every day, you know, and my goal is just to get as many emails as possible and then send out a written offer, and that's my thing. Like I don't believe that an offer is an offer unless I send it to you in writing, because I've gotten so many people that reach back to me a year later, rental property stuff that I own, where they reach back to me a year later and I forgot all about the property, and then they say, hey, you still interested? And I'm like, shit, like I gotta look and see, so I'm a huge believer in just making actual written offers.
Yeah.
And that's just what, that's really my key. That's my secret.
Yeah, written offers is literally a written offer. I
Yeah.
agree with you. I agree with you. The whole verbal whole verbal offer isn't really what I like either. So
Yeah.
I agree. So those are the three questions that I want to ask, and I wanted to actually open it up to the audience today to ask you any questions. So whoever wants to go first, feel free, and good to go.
Man,
Rick?
must have did a good job.
Yeah.
No, no, listen. Eric knows me. I'm the guy that's going to talk the most publicly. Yeah. No, so I kind of stay quiet, let everybody kind of take the lead for the most part. No, man, I wrote a lot of things down here. Like, I just hear a lot of from what you say is like from, going into the boxing gym and meeting the guy and then, you know, going, doing the cold calling and just stuff like that. I just hear a lot of relationship building that you did, and we all try to say self-made, but I see that throughout your life there was relationships, and then you mentioned a lot of mentors that you've received and helping you build your way. So I took that a lot. I did have one question that I wanted to ask is like, what do you think sets apart? What's the difference between someone that is successful and someone that fails at real estate? What do you think sets people apart? What would you think that's
Um,
the criteria?
and it's funny. I was having this conversation again. Y'all asking questions that like I feel like I've just like literally just had a conversation. Um, it's really management, man. And I think there's two parts to real estate. It's the acquisition of are you getting at the right price? And I'm not saying that management trumps that. I think they're both hand in hand, because do a piss job at managing a property and still make out because you bought it at the right price. You know what I mean? But for the most part, I find that people only focus on the sexy part of real estate, which is negotiating, finding a deal, how to get the deal. But no one focuses on the management of actually, once you own the property, are you keeping a good bookkeeping? Do you have the right leases? Are there anything that you can tweak in your leases? Do you have the right systems when it comes to making sure that contractors are on alert and they can come and take a look at the property and stuff like that? Are you training your tenants, or are your tenants training you? Things like that. So just knowing how to manage the property, I really think that that's the difference. Because think about it, real estate is accessible to anybody. It's not like another industry where you gotta know some type of skill in order to get into it. You know what I mean? If I want to get in the gaming industry, I gotta know whatever, I don't know, coding or
Got Twitch. You got a Twitch. They call it the Twitch.
yeah, you gotta know that language, or else you're not in it. That's a different club that you're just not going to be able to get into. But at the end of the day, everybody is gonna either buy a house at one point in their life or rent a house or some. So we're all in real estate to a degree. We all have access to it. So I think the difference is that when I'm, buying a property, I'm buying it from other investors, landlords. Like I just told you, a great place to find properties is landlord evictions. And why are they evicting a tenant? Because they didn't manage it well, right? So the opportunities come from people who don't manage it well. And then hopefully the person who's going to buy it is going to manage it well. But that's not what they're teaching in the courses. They're not teaching you how to manage it. They're teaching you just how to find stuff. That's it.
Gosh.
So.
Eddie, can I ask a question since you're deep into wholesaling? One of the buzzwords that I've been hearing lately is sub two, right? It's everybody's now. It's the word of the day, word of the month. What challenges? So I know a little bit about loans and what's legal and what's not legal in loans and creating mortgages. What are the challenges? How many sub twos have you done, and where are they? Where's the gray area? What are they kind of? Where are these folks that are doing sub twos kind of pushing the envelope a little bit on the legal side?
On the legal side, well, a lot of sub twos are purchased from pre-foreclosures. A lot of times people go after pre-foreclosures to find those. In Maryland, I think it's just in Maryland, but I know there's a law called the HIPAA law where you're not really allowed to say that you can stop foreclosure or stop any type of, things like that. So, and subject twos for the most part, like you can find really good deals going to pre-foreclosures. You just can't say that in your you can't say that I'm going to stop your, you have to be a licensed, whatever,
you have to be an MLO. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's something that happens. Also, once you do purchase the property, there is something called a due on sales clause, where the bank can basically take the property and say, yo, you're not the person who we lent this money to. Why do you own it? You know what I mean? And just take the property back from you. So that can happen. There are ways to defend against that. You can put your property in a trust to where they don't necessarily know who owns it. You know what I mean? For all they know, it could just be the family trust, right? There's also insurances that can protect you. It's kind of like a bond. Like if you have a business and you get a business bond and somebody slips and falls in your place of business, and they sue you, the bond kind of helps you to kind of like, protect you against that. So what the insurance do on that, they'll, if their due on sale clause ever happens, then they'll kind of like do their best to either just pay it out, just to pay out the mortgage, or they'll just kind of fight on your behalf. You know what I mean? So a lot of times people have issues finding insurances when it comes to subject twos as well, or they have issues finding an insurance when they have it through a trust. But like I said, there's people out there that would do it. You just gotta know those people. So, but yeah, those are the two things I could think of.
How many sub twos have you done, Eddie?
I've done around 4, and then I've helped people do. I don't know how many I've helped, because you can also wholesale, which I've never really wholesaled. Like I've been a little wary to wholesale, actually assign the right of a subject to. But what I have done is I've consult. So I've taken a consulting fee, show them exactly what I would do, and say, look, this is the stuff you want to look out for, and then you just pay me a consulting fee, as opposed to like just assigning it, because I don't want to put my name on something saying that I'm going to pay somebody's mortgage and then somebody else don't pay the mortgage. You know what I mean? I don't want to be in that situation.
Yep, makes sense.
And to elaborate on that question, Eddie, wholesaling sometimes gets a bad rap, in the industry for various reasons. What would you recommend to an investor to look for when he's searching for wholesalers that are ethical and they do what they say, and how would you what is there anything that you could say where recommend to look for in a wholesaler when you're searching for wholesale to help you find leads along the way?
Like shady business type stuff is what you're saying?
Yeah, like is there anything like red flags that you would say, hey, maybe you don't want to mess with somebody that might be doing something like this? Is there
You
anything
always,
that you may say?
bro, I honestly that's kind of hard because real estate is kind of catty and it's like old women at church. Everybody talks and it's all opinions. You know what I mean? And a lot of times it's misunderstandings and you know, your personality don't match that person's personality. The way you do business don't match the way that person does business. And there's always two sides to a story. So sometimes I might hear from somebody that says, "Hey, don't mess with this guy. You know, Jim is, you know, is an asshole or whatever." And then you know Jim, and then Jim's telling you his side, and it's just like, you know, you never really know until you do business. You got to kiss a lot of frogs, and then eventually you'll get your prince and princess. Like it is what it is. Like just
Gotcha.
just do business, do the best that you can to I always say under promise, over deliver. That's a really great way to keep integrity. It's just do what you say what you're gonna do. And if not, under promise and do more. You know, people will still talk no matter what happens. You know, and you want to protect your reputation. That's all you got in this business. I don't want to make it lightly, but at the same time, there's only so much you can do. Just know it deep in your heart that you're a good person, have integrity, and try and work with people that match your frequency. And if they don't match your frequency, hey, it's no hard feelings. It doesn't mean they're a bad person. Just don't work. We just don't, we don't fit. So that's my philosophy. I don't really think people are bad people like that. I think that sometimes shit just happens, you know.
Gotcha. And I could agree with your philosophy, and yes, so that's solid advice. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Can I add something there, Ricardo and Eddie? Because I'm on the other side of the wholesalers. I'm buying from the wholesalers, right? So I'll tell you what my biggest issue is. Number one, they underestimate the rehab cost. Not everybody. You guys are pretty savvy, but I'm telling you, when I start to see, they send me pictures, and I know the neighborhood, I know the costs of rehabs. I've done enough of them, and then they send me they say something like 400,000 purchase price, 60,000 rehab, right? So then and then they go ARV of 750, right? And I go and I look at the property, I go to Google, I look at the pictures, and I know just the foundation and the flooring is going to be 40, 50 grand on that house, right? It's on a little hill and it's got issues, and it's probably going to need to be jacked up and straightened out and all that. So I know right away, just from the pictures, that the rehab is not going to be less than 100,000. So what that tells me is that this wholesaler hasn't done his homework, or she hasn't done her homework on what the true rehabs are. So what happens is, I say, okay, you know what? I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. Let me see if I double my rehab numbers, and will I still make money? Even if I take the worst case scenario, and can I still make money? And if I can't make any money after all that, they don't understand the cost of capital. They don't understand the cost of selling a property. What the let's say I'm a buyer. I'm gonna sell that property. I'm gonna fix it. I'm gonna sell it. I have commissions. I have holding costs. I have taxes. I have staging costs. I have all these things which they don't take into account, right? If you can be a little bit more diligent in your numbers, right away you're going to stand above and separate from 80% of the wholesalers out there. Most of the time I get, purchase price, rehab cost, ARV, right? And sometimes if they're nice, they'll send me some pictures of the interior, or they'll send me some comps, but that's often not the case. So if you can really put yourself in the shoes of the buyer and say, will the buyer buy this? Is it even worth their time? Then trust me, that buyer will keep coming back to you, because you don't want it to be a one transaction kind of a deal. You want it to be a repeat buyer, because Eddie, I'm sure you have repeat buyers, right? They go, hey Eddie, what you got?
That's
I'm
what I
done
love
with my.
about business. Repeat. That's why I'm not a realtor. But Bobby, you kind of hit on a point that I want, you said that if they can just put themselves in the buyer's shoes. And I think the problem with wholesalers is that that's hard to imagine owning a property. When I first bought my first property, remember my first property was my worst property. He asked me what was my worst deal.
Yep.
My worst deal was my first rental property. I've been wholesaling for some time, right? 2 years now. And then I think I know it all. I think I know everything about real estate. And then I bought a property, and then I go through some shit, and I'm just like, oh, this is why buyers are reluctant. Oh, this is why they want to make sure that they have this in order, and why is it vacant, and they don't, you know what I mean? And things start to click. And until you're actually in the buyer's shoes, I don't think sometimes you do get it. But I will say this: when I first got started in real estate, like, my insecurity was that I was this young Black guy. I soon realized that, number one, Baltimore is predominantly Black. A lot of people are in Baltimore are Black. Most investors are in Baltimore are Black. Number two, being young, also, everybody wanted to help me. Everybody wanted to say, oh, you remind me of myself, so let me teach you. So it's funny that what I thought would hinder me was actually helping me to an extent. You know what I mean? So, and I was that guy, Bobby. I was that guy that was putting things, saying that the rehab was 5K and the ARV was this, and you know what I mean, and just saying stupid stuff. And the buyers that would sit me down and say, Eddie, like, I love your hustle. You don't know the difference between, you know what I mean, a sink and a doorknob when it comes to the properties. But I'm gonna tell you how to do it. This is why you got to do it like this. This is how I look at it. And if you find something that matches this, then bring it back to me. And those were the people who I always reached out to because they added value. And I took that same philosophy, because I am really good at relationships. So, when I saw that people didn't know what they were doing as wholesalers, I say, bro, like, before you send it out, send it to me. I'll look it up on the MLS and I'll tell you what you can put it on the contract for, because you're not doing it right. You know what I mean? And then that brought me a lot of deals. I closed a lot of deals just from doing that because, I showed people the correct way of doing it. So, I think that's the hurdle. Like, if you can just be like, look, you can teach them and you can add value, they'll be like, oh yeah, all right, cool. Well, I'm going to do exactly what he says, and I'm going to bring it straight to Bobby, and Bobby's going to buy it.
Because look, a lot of flippers, investors, they don't want to do what you're doing. Like, they don't have the bandwidth to do what you're doing. So you're actually helping them. So I look at my wholesalers as my allies. I'm like, hey man, what you got? And sometimes I tell them, bro, before you send it to anybody, send it to me first. So they are my allies. I need them, right? So what you have to do is you have to say, okay, look, I'm not gonna get greedy. I'll take my 10K, 5K, whatever, right? But I know that you are a good contractor, you're a good investor, you're a good wholesale, you're a good flipper. You'll need more properties. So I'm going to just keep supplying you properties. I'm going to take my 5, 10K every time, but I know I got a good buyer here. So that's what I would do. But, by the way, Eddie, I'm sure you have some really sophisticated Excel spreadsheets now that kind of you probably can share with your investors, like how you analyze the deal, the deal analyzer, right? So yeah, just get familiar with those Excel spreadsheets. And sometimes you can say, listen, I don't know what the exact rehab number is, but it's going to be between best case scenario 15,000, worst case scenario 30,000, right? You can tell them that. Just be honest, and they'll do their own homework. Yeah.
I think Eddie said, he dropped a gem there. and how he was saying that. I think it's how we went back to the beginning of our conversation where we were talking about lack of education. And I think like that's what Eddie was saying where, and correct me if I'm wrong, Eddie, like some wholesalers, like you said, they haven't been in our shoes as investors. And like you were saying, Bobby, like I totally agree with you. Like I'm saying, hey, my cost of money, my holding costs, I got to pay for insurance. I got to pay for that. And like you said, it's about education. And like Eddie's doing a commemorable thing by educating other wholesalers like, hey, no, this isn't how you do it. You do it like this. So I think that's great. And I think that's a good point in regards to just educating each other and growing with each other. So I think that's big.
Love it.
Facts, definitely, man.
At what point did you decide that you were gonna grow your team as far as cold callers? Was it the number of the amount of deals you were doing, or was it a certain amount of money that you made that you realized, all right, it's time for me to bring some other people and help me cold call?
So one time I had, and this was back when mailing campaigns was big. Everybody was that was the marketing strategy, was all mailing campaigns and postcards and stuff like that. And the more money you put into it, the more phone calls you get. So there was I put like around 2K, like I had made a pretty large wholesale deal. And this was my first time putting this large amount into, back then I was using List Source, and I forget the name of the website that would just send out postcards. I haven't sent out a postcard, mailer in a very long time. So I sent it out, and I got so many calls, way too many calls that I could really handle. And I felt like I was missing out on deals. I felt like the people who were calling me, I couldn't get back on time enough, So I had to figure out a way to get people to call them back. So the first thing I did was, a lot of people was reaching out to me about learning real estate. And at the time I wasn't really on that vibe. I didn't really want to be a mentor. I just didn't want to do that. But what I did was I decided I'll go to Starbucks, sit down with people and have them and teach them, different things and say, look, I need somebody to go after these calls. And can you make these calls? Some of it worked out. Some of it didn't, like the whole shady thing or kissing a frog and all that good stuff. But, and I'm still learning when it comes to managing people. I'm still growing and learning. I got an HR consultant / coach thing, teaching me how to be a better leader. So it's something that I'm continuously, growing at. But right now, yeah, we're doing pretty good. I do find that I have a gift of teaching. So people, they get on the phone and then, they listen to me and they know how to close them. And that's all I really need people to do is close them. So that's why Podio is really important. Being able to communicate through Podio, put them on your workspace, showing the leads, give them a script, all that good stuff. Give them support.
Amazing.
What
Back.
did you find
Back.
cold callers?
I'm sorry, what'd you say, Mello?
How do you find cold callers? Is it
So there's different ways that you can do it. When I was first doing this, I did go heavy into the whole virtual assistant thing. Read 4 Hour Work Week. Tim Ferriss, I think his name is.
Yeah.
And I'm the type when I learn something, I kind of obsess about it and go hard on it and just attack it. So I did everything. One online resource that works really well is onlinejobs.ph. Onlinejobs.ph. So not .com, but .ph. It's in the Philippines. I think it's a monthly subscription. They were the best that I've used. And you can find virtual assistants, and train them. But the thing is, it's more so you. Like a lot of times people think when you hire somebody that it's just like you hire them and then they do your work for you and they replace you. And it's not like that. You gotta, like, management is a skill itself. It's something you gotta learn how to manage people. So and if you're managing somebody that's virtually from another country, could, language barrier could be even worse. So right now I do have Indeed. I go through Indeed. If you want to go through the regular, people on the U.S. soil, and you can still pay around the same amount, or you can do commission, pay a percentage of what you make on the wholesale fee. So yeah, there's lots of different ways you can do it. But Indeed is powerful. Indeed is very powerful for in-state. Out of state, I would say onlinejobs.ph is what helped me a lot. So
Sweet.
both you got paid for. So yeah.
Really go around here, man.
Eddie, to touch on the whole leadership, management role. My philosophy is if you don't work for them, they're not going to work for you. Hands down. And you probably heard that before, but like literally, like, my brother and I were on the restoration company, and literally, like, I work for them, because I have to get everything for them. But when we set up and head out in the morning, everything's all good to go for them, so like I'm doing that, set them up for success. So that's something that I learned. So that's something that you could definitely learn as a leader, future leader.
Definitely. I like that. I like that, Jim. I appreciate that. Definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, Eric, I met Mello as well at at an event in Miami.
Oh, Miami. Yo, Mello, you were the first. I think you were the first attendee for SoFlo REI.
Oh wow.
No, for real. Like at Royal Pig. I think you were. Yeah.
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 There were a couple of people. That was a nice evening.
Yeah, man. That's.
Yeah.
I'm glad you. What's up?
It's nice meeting people face to face. You make better connections that way. But this is the new reality.
It is.
Yeah.
It is, and I would love to sit down and like shake everyone's hand, and that's what I was doing before, and it's just like it's awesome. But yeah, man, you were there. You were one of the first attendees, and you were saying that you wanted to quit your job and continue and dive deep into wholesaling. So actually, I'm gonna ask you a question. What's your progress from a year?
I mean, this is my second deal, one in the pipeline now, and hopefully this one that's coming now is like the biggest one yet, but it hasn't closed yet, so it's still like crossing fingers and everything. But I did say I wanted to quit my job, and I did to dive into wholesaling, but I thought that after the first 30 days, 60 days, I would have got a $10,000 check, and it didn't come till like 10 months later.
Yeah.
So I was bouncing around from sales jobs to hospitality management to doing everything just to get enough money to market to the next seller, motivated seller. But yeah, it got really discouraging at times because especially in this South Florida market, everybody, all you hear is no. And I got used to it, but it's just like all you hear is no. And the yes you do get, your price is way too low. It's just it's a whole lot of adversity I came in contact with, but I just stayed consistent with it, and I eventually got that deal.
That's facts. And I think that's the beauty of real estate, guys, that even when you think it's an L, it's not really an L, man. It's just a learning experience, and we grow from that. And I think the adversity is the beauty thing of it, man, because you take from that and you build on that. So that's why I'm happy to, to get in my first deal, because I want to experience that and see that. And yeah, no, I just, like I said, I'm starting to change my mindset where I don't look at it as a loss, as a L. I just look at it as an experience and just build from that. But yeah, no, that's just my thought on that. But that's cool, man. Mello, we got to connect, man. If you're down here in Miami, I'm looking for deals.
I'm always in Miami.
Cool. Yeah. What you do, like what parts of Miami do you kind of focus on? Do you focus on certain areas there or everywhere?
Like, I really, wherever I'm driving, I drive for dollars everywhere. Like this
okay.
driving for dollars out in North Miami Beach.
Okay. By Barry University, by the Barry University up that way?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And the community just south of that, I drive for dollars here.
With the 119th, right? Is that also 119th?
Exactly. I pretty much did majority of the cities in Broward. So
yeah, I'm focusing heavily on West Park, Pembroke Park, Miramar, Hollywood. Those are my like my niches. I've been getting in a little bit into the probate space. I've been reading books on probate. I actually went to the courthouse a little bit, the courthouse a little bit different, like, 'cause I have a full-time job in the daytime. So it's a little difficult, but I kind of went to the courthouse just to kind of dabble a little bit in their system with the probate. So I was able to get a couple leads off the probate. Nothing's really hit from it, but just continually just trying to grow, man, and learn different strategies. I know Eddie was talking about like owner financing. Like I'm in love with that stuff, man. Like I really want to get into that and find people that sellers that are motivated, man. So, just keep working.
I really want to do.
Well, I wanted to actually invite you guys. I do have a mastermind where I teach people like wholesaling and creative financing.
Yeah.
It's only $27 a month. But you guys, I was going to do a month free for you guys. So if you sign up, and then you send me like a message saying, hey, I was on the thing or whatever. Then I'll refund it, and then you'll just, get charged the next month.
All right, cool, Eddie, man. Yeah, we're gonna link up. I want to talk.
Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, and I just put the link into the group chat right there.
Yeah.
Bobby.
I seen my man Mello. It's crazy, like how like small the world is.
Right? That was crazy.
Small world.
Yeah, it is a super small world.
Yeah.
Almost a year later.
Mm-hmm. Back when I had dreadlocks.
The full head of dreadlocks. What happened? What made you?
I just wanted to cut them, man. I just felt like I was going into a different level of maturity. You know what I mean? I just felt like it represented, like younger me, and I needed to just cut it. Why do I say that?
It's funny how Eddie's doing that. I went from bald to like just growing my hair out. I went the opposite. I was bald because my hairline started going back a little bit. So I just said, let me cut it bald. And I was bald for about a year. And I was like, you know what? I've never had long hair in my life, man. So let me just grow my hair out, man. I'm like very free spirited, man. Like you're gonna love me just because of who I am, the knowledge that I bring, and the energy that I give, and just from like that stuff. But yeah, it's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, I went to a Catholic school, and we had to like be well groomed. Like we couldn't have no beard, no locks or braids or anything like that. So when I graduated high school, that's what
sounds like. That's it.
Long hair, braids, beard, everything that I couldn't do before.
Yeah. It was funny you mentioned on your vlog, man. It was a pretty cool gem that you dropped on one of your vlogs, where you're talking about when you drive around, you look at the cars in the neighborhood. Yeah, I don't know if you remember that vlog that you did.
Yeah.
You did like you're looking at cars in the neighborhood to kind of see the different cars that people have and kind of have an idea of what the neighborhood or the makeup of the neighborhood. That was pretty dope. What you said there.
You can do that on Google Maps. Like if you want to get an idea of like, is this a low income or high income? If you know anything about cars, you can just go on Google Maps, look down the street, and then kind of say, okay, like these cars, this is the type of people, you know what I mean? Like the income, so, and it usually stands true. So
yeah.
Another way to do that is, well, first off, I do drive around, but I'm not driving for dollars. I'm driving for duplexes and triplexes. That in areas that I want to live because I want to house hack it. So I go in there, drive around. I talk to all the neighbors. I roll on my windows. There's this one gentleman. It's funny. I'll actually tell you the story later. But yeah, I mean, I do that. I go to that neighborhood during the day and at night. Specifically when it rains now, heavy rain, I go out in my truck and I drive into the neighborhood to see if it's flooded or not as well. It's just like, is that a flood zone? Is it not? Do I have to get extra flood insurance? So I kind of do evaluate the areas like that. And also I go to the Publix or the Walmart and walk in there and just walk around. So,
nice.
So yeah, there's different ways. There's different ways, especially, I mean, it depending on what strategy you're doing in real estate. But for me personally, like I want to live in an area where I can also rent out rooms or the unit to friends, so that's kind of why I'm doing that. But
how do you analyze your apartment complexes?
Well, the duplexes and triplexes, what I do is I run my numbers actually on on a spreadsheet that Steven Rosenberg actually gave to us. It's really easy, and what I've been actually coming, and I'll get to that in a second. But I've been trying to get accurate numbers, and it's super hard with expenses, electric, yeah, any utilities. It's hard. Even if I ask the realtor, like they don't give me like, oh yeah, it's this and this. Like I don't know. Like I feel like they should have that information, up front. But it's always a guesstimate. So those, and also I go by off of property appraisal. So I just look it up on property appraisal. I get the market value, the land value, to see the appreciation, calendar as well. So any property that I like, I just take it down, go home, and pull it into the spreadsheet and see if I'm cash flowing, or see if I'm even hitting that break even, or if I'm paying 200, $300 a month to live. I'm okay with that as well. But my goal right now is to live for free. So if I'm positive, it's great. If I'm negative $200-300 a month to live, it's not a problem.
One of my mentors for apartment complexes, he I use the Michael Blank's spreadsheet too to tell me the cash on cash and the IRR and all that stuff
Right.
as well.
Yeah.
Once you go into the due diligence, but like one way that my mentor showed me how to like kind of analyze really quickly to see if you guys are even close, at least in the initial, because sometimes they don't have all the numbers anyways, like you said. So what you can do is you can divide by the price or what price you want to pay, by the units, and then that tells you how much each unit is going for, and then you can times it times 12% or like 15% if it's in a bad neighborhood.
Okay.
And then if that number is anywhere near the average of what rents are going for in that area, then that lets you know if it's a good deal or not. So and it seems to hold true. Like I like that way. I was like, okay, it's very, very quick. It's easy, fast. So at least it tells you, okay, for each unit, I'm getting 12% of my money or 15% of my money, and I like it.
Awesome.
Hey, Eric, just a tip well, I work for the light company, so I can give you a little tip in regards to utilities. You could always call up the utility company, give them the address,
Okay.
and they'll be able to give you an average of what a monthly bill was for that property. You don't have to necessarily know their bill, but we'll be able to give you an average of what the monthly bill is. And I'm sure that you could also do that for the city, for the water and stuff like that, kind of get an average of what the bill is for that particular address. So just a little tidbit for that. Or you could always hit me up and I'll help you.
I mean, you're right. I'll just send you a text in our accountability. Text.
Yeah, just send me a text, man. That's cool.
Yeah, Mello.
Anybody here virtually?
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
Does anyone virtually wholesale?
Nah.
Negative.
I've virtually wholesaled before, but I like on the virtual stuff, or anything outside of the city, or my area, I like to just go after the commercial stuff. I think that makes more sense, for me at least. But I do work with what's funny is I work with a lot of virtual wholesalers, that wholesale.
Got you.
Hmm?
South Florida wholesaling is killing me. I really.
I think for you, like if you live in like a place like Florida, New York, California, and you're trying to wholesale, then I would definitely do virtual wholesale. Like you can make a lot more money that way. For me, I feel like it doesn't make sense because I feel like my deal flow isn't. I can close a lot of deals here. Why do I have to go somewhere else? But
Yeah.
But yeah, I think for you, yeah, and it's not hard. It's the same exact thing. You're just getting somebody else to be the boots on the ground, really.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Eric. You're gonna ask something before I cut you off.
Yeah, no. If you want, man, I can add you to our local texting accountability little thing that we have.
Oh.
Deontay, Rick, and I are in.
This is my accountability partner right here.
Oh,
That's it.
I like that.
That's all. It's online. This is a 20 last year's, but that's all I have for an accountability.
What is that? Some
card.
10x stuff, some Grant Cardone stuff?
No, it's like a report card, like how many hours I spend cold calling and the leads calls.
Oh, can you send me that? I like that.
Wow.
That sounds like a scorecard for my cold callers, bro. That's what it sounds like to me.
That's exactly what it is.
Oh, yeah,
That's exactly what it is.
That's actually perfect to hold your cold callers accountable.
Yeah.
All the shit that the wasting time that they do, or they don't do,
Yeah, no, I'm able to for the most part I see my progress week by week, and not by the amount of deals or everything, but really by the amount of time I'm putting into cold calling, because that's the oxygen of my business.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, really puts things into perspective. But yeah, drop your email in the chat so I can send it to you as an Excel sheet. Or I can just drop it as a file in here. I wish I could just do that. I think I may be able to. Sweet.
Yeah, share the love with everyone.
Nice, man. Thank you. I know that we're kind of going over time here, but it seems like everyone is kind of clicking here. I love it. But Bobby, if you can kind of tell us a little bit about Better Capital.
Yeah. Thank you, Eric. So, look, I'm an investor. I was in your shoes not too long ago. But over time, accumulated a few rental properties, some private money loans, some syndications, and so on. But I was tracking everything in Excel. I had my the address, and then did the rent come in? Did the private money borrower, did they make their payment? I was tracking everything in Excel. But when it was time for like paying taxes, insurance, the leases, I was losing track of a bunch of information because I had at one point over 30, 40 transactions every month that I was looking at. So what I did was, by the way, the foundation of what I've built is based on training, right? Because 10 years ago, Eric, you said, Mello was your first attendee. So 10 years ago, it was actually November. It was exactly 10 years ago. I forget the date, but it was November 2010. I went on meetup.com. I created an account and I put it out there. And we met I couldn't find any place. I'm like, okay, you know what? We'll just go grab a beer at a bar in downtown Oakland. And 3 people showed up, right? And so 3 people showed up to my first event. So fast forward 10 years, luckily, it's become the largest real estate meetup group in the Bay Area. I've got about 5,000 members. We filled out the bar, like a few months later, and then we went to a bigger restaurant and we filled out that bigger restaurant. And finally, this company said, listen, come to our offices. We'll give you the whole venue. We'll give you the projector. We'll give you the internet. And just let us say a few words about our company to your audience. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? That's a fair deal. So, Eric, when you grow your meetup, your group, and we're allowed to meet in person, I've got some ideas for you to help you kind of get that situated and grow. And the venues are pretty tricky, by the way, because sometimes they're too loud. Sometimes, the guy's trying to speak and, they're playing, rock and roll next door, and so education was the focus of my meetups. They were always free, and I brought in experts. So I would bring in somebody like an Eddie, I'd bring in somebody like an Eric, I'd bring in anybody, whether it was fix and flip, hard money, syndications, legal, asset protection, tenant landlord laws, anything legal, CPAs. So I was bringing all these people in, right? So that's how the meetup grew. And then people would make deals. Look, they would meet there, they would shake hands, they would exchange business cards. Next thing you know, they're flipping, they're lending, they're JVing, they're doing all kinds of stuff together. So what I did, and Eric, I think you'll have to make me a co-host if I can share my screen real quick.
Yes.
So because I have a technology background and I live in Silicon Valley, so me and a friend of mine, we started this website that allows you to track. Let me know if you can see my screen.
We can see it.
Okay, so this is it's called Better Capital, and this is a startup that we just launched. Took us a year and a half to build it, but when you log in here, this is what it's going to look like. And so it's got my private lending, all my loans are out here, my rentals are out here, my syndications are out here, and then I can search for something. I can say, for example, I can say Moraga. Okay, so I can go to Moraga. I can see how that property performed or how that loan performed. All my financials are here. My transactions are all here. I can see whether the payment came in, and all my, I'll show you a different asset for that one, but I can store all my documents in one place. So for example, if I come in here, I can see what the performance of this property is, the actual performance versus like last year, how did it do? It's right here. And then all my transactions are here. Sorry, these are the financials. So what's my lease? What are my operating expenses? What is my asset? When did I buy it? What did I buy it for? What was my down payment? The size and everything. What is it worth, et cetera, et cetera. I can put notes, installed new kitchen on say 712019. Okay, so I can have notes in here. I can also store all my documents. So my leases, my insurance documents, my tax bills. I can simply come in here. I can click here. Let me see, do I have a PDF? Okay, yeah, I do have a PDF. I'm gonna say upload a PDF. And then I can say, add a category to this. So if I say, I can say something like, I'm gonna say tax Santa Clara County, and I can say 2018. Okay, so if I say that, now if I search on Santa Clara, it's only going to find the document which I had tagged as Santa Clara County. If I click on this, I can preview that document. Okay, so everything I need, all my contacts are here. If I have a lender, if I have an insurance agent, if I have any kind of my tenant, all that information is in here. I can also add pictures. I can say add a photo. So for example, I can come in here, desktop. Let me see if I can take a, download. Sorry. Okay, let me see. Yeah, okay, I want to add this picture.
Can you put other users on there, like an accountant or a property manager or anything?
Yeah. You can communicate with your, so if I add a contact here, so I can say, Eddie Colson, I can say, oh, sorry. I can say what this contact is. Then I can communicate through this portal to my contacts.
Mhm.
Now, they cannot currently view my assets right now. They cannot view my assets. But in the future, we will add, if you want your VA, your CPA, your bookkeeper to upload information on your behalf, we're adding a feature so that you just log in and you can see your dashboard, but they're just inputting the data. They cannot see the financials, they cannot see all that. But you may have a VA, let's say Eric, you have Cozy, and you can actually what we've actually done is, if you look at transactions, um, I can go to a file and I can import a Cozy file. I can import a Cozy file into my property. So we know these are the sort of the common property management applications out there. And we can build more connectors, but you simply, so for example, here, I'll show you real quick in my financials. Okay, if I say self-managed and I say Cozy, then if I say update, then when I go to transactions and I want to import a transaction, sorry, I think, let me see. Basically, I'll be able to import a Cozy transaction, right? So whether you're on AppFolio, Cozy, Tenant Cloud, Yardi, Buildium, doesn't matter, right? So the reason why we built this was very often, yeah, here we go. So Cozy shows up as an option. So if I had a Cozy file, which actually I do, so I'm gonna go to, let me see, not that one. I'll show you kind of how it'll work, but so here's a Cozy file. If I click on this, it's going to import everything. I don't want to do that right now because it's my real data, but we can build any connectors. We can bring in data from all these platforms. But the idea behind this is there are 3 T's, and Steve Rosenberg, Eric, we are part of this mastermind group, but we believe in 3 T's. Tracking. So if you don't know, like, what's the first thing that happens when you get inside your car? You have a dashboard in front of you. The dashboard tells you your fuel gauge, your speedometer, whether you're going forward, backwards, what's your battery engine light doing? Do you have any sensors going off? All that, right? So it's telling you kind of the health of your car. We believe that as an investor, you should have a real-time knowledge of all your assets. For example, Eric, like you have your house hacking, the rents come in. I want to, and maybe one of your houses is on Cozy. Maybe in future you'll have a house maybe in Orlando, but that property manager is managing it on AppFolio. So how do you merge all that data? Well, using our system, it doesn't matter what the property manager is using, because you'll be able to import all that data into one place. So that's the dashboard. We call that tracking. The second T is something called transactions. Training. So the training is a big piece of it. So like we'll have somebody like Eddie, Steve Rosenberg, a few other people that I'm talking to that are educators. They're passionate about educating you, whether it's on sub two, whether it's on wholesaling, whether it's on burr strategy, whether it's multifamily, it doesn't matter. There's 100 topics in real estate. So we're going to provide education. The third is, transactions. So once you become a user, you can actually, if you have an asset, let's say one day Eric has a property that he bought in Miami, he's ready to sell it now. He just comes to the site, all the data for that property is in there. His rent roll is in there, his lease is in there, his insurance is in there, his tax bills in there. If there's HOA, it's in there, everything is in there. He just says, clicks on a drop down and he says sell. That goes into our marketplace, but we also publish that onto Facebook, onto Craigslist, onto Zillow, whatever that is needed to be published. That's where it's going to go. That feature doesn't exist today, but it's going to be there. But for wholesalers, they can put their properties in the system. Then they can say, I want to sell it or I want to market it. And then, all the data is there, your pictures, your Excel files, your contracts, everything is in one place. So if a potential buyer comes to you and says, okay, you know what, Mello, I'm interested in that property. Can you send me, all the contracts and documentation, the leases, maybe that what was the property tax paid? Send me all that information. You go into the portal, you click on that, boom, all that information is sent out to the user. So, but so that's what we have built. I'll put the URL. It's very simple. Better capital.us. We couldn't get .com, so it's .us. It's free. It's free to use, but would love your feedback. If you got properties, we'd love to have you try it out. If there's some features you would like added, if there's some features that you think could be better, we are here. We want to support real estate investors and everybody. So that's who this is for. So
That's great.
yeah, thank you.
Can you put a? Oh, okay, I see it.
Yeah, bettercapital.us. Yeah, but anyway, Eric, I appreciate you giving me a few minutes to chat about my startup, and but look, Eddie, Mello, Deontay, whatever you think can be improved, I'm just a message away, and we'd love to help you guys. If you need more audience, you need an audience for whether it's your properties, your education, your whatever, right? We're not Bigger Pockets, we're not Facebook. We're a tool for you to manage the properties that you have, whether they're in contract or whether they're rentals. That's we want to make sure that you're not paying late fees. I didn't show you, but I'll show you real quickly. It won't take but a second, but we have a reminder module. So you can come in here. It's got a full reminder module. I can say, okay, this is done, or I can say this one is removed. So I can track all my reminders in one place. I can create a reminder. What was it about? Pay the plumber. Pay him on the 25th. Pay Jose on Cliff. Frequency one time. All right, so now I've got a reminder built right there. In future, we will integrate this into Google Calendar as well. So, but anyway, I know I chewed up a lot of your time, but I wanted to share this.
No, it's great, and I actually love the software. I'm definitely going to be using it. Absolutely. And I'm like I said, like I told you, I'm all about software. I'm trying to also improve the real estate industry as well. I kind of have something that actually, one day we can actually work together. Nothing what you're doing, but it's very, very cool. Very way to save some time. We'll talk about that later on.
Yeah, look, Eric, look, this is all about partnerships. It's about, working together. But yeah, no, whenever you guys, if you come up with ideas where we can collaborate, that's what it's all about. 1 + 1 = 3.
Absolutely. Um, Absolutely. But thank you again. Eddie, thank you, man. Thank you for your time. Thank you for everything that you shared with us. It's definitely been a privilege to have you on SoFlo REI session. I started the Zoom obviously when COVID hit. So just from there into now, I mean, it's just great that we had like the guests that we have and whatnot, and I'm appreciative of that, and I really thank you for talking to the group as well. Yeah, man. Yeah, and I appreciate it very
Of course,
much.
man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
Eddie, and I'm going to refer my wholesalers that are starting out over to you. So yeah, they need a coach, they need guidance, so why not?
I was also thinking like that's such a good area. Everyone needs coaching, but wholesale in general, man, and even you, Bobby, even said that the defaults that they have. I mean, it's such a niche, and I think Eddie, you're in the right path, my man.
Appreciate that, man. Definitely, yeah. Yeah, and I'm gonna reach out to everybody. I followed Bobby and Mello. I don't know Ricardo's last name.
No, well, everybody calls me Rick, man. Ricardo's my legal name, but you call me Rick. It's Rick Prolific _investor on Instagram and
Up in the Instagram handle. Sorry.
Yeah, gotta throw out the Instagram handle, man. That's how we rocking.
Got it.
But Bobby, we'll link up definitely on the group and stuff like that, and we'll talk more for sure. There you go. I got you already. I'll follow back.
What's up, Deontay? What's your IG, bro? You want to put it in? Deontay, very quiet.
I'm sorry, fellas. I was chilling with my mentor. I made it home. Now I'm eating. I'm just my Instagram is I need to look it up myself. Hold on one second.
No, it's hold on. I know it.
As you can see, I'm in the kitchen right now.
I got you, D. Hold on. I gotta get you back.
Is it WAP dot Berry
Yeah.
Invest?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think that's what you got. Yeah, I think. Hold on. I think you like
that is it.
Yeah, it's all right. WAP is spelled WAUCHOPE. It sounds like WOP, but it's WAUCHOPE. And that last name, every letter is silent.
Okay, so
every letter is silent.
Invest.
Yeah, dot Berry Invest.
Got you. Well, I got investors. Is it invest or investors?
Is it invest or investors, fellas? I don't know.
It's investors. Yeah.
It's investors. Okay, cool. Yeah.
So
the WAP is my wife's last name and Berry is my last name. So we just put our names together, WAP.Berry. And so our group, our business is WAP and Berry Investment Group. So I'm primarily the wholesaler. She's primarily the flipper. Rick's met her. You see how her visions come just by walking in the front door of a house, of a property. So we plan to meet everybody here. Mello, Bobby, Eddie. I know I didn't catch where Bobby was from, but Eddie, you're on the East Coast. We travel often. So if we're ever when we're ever in your area, we'll definitely link up. And
and I was saying I'm in Miami all the time. That's how I know Mello and the lady Chris who was on here. Well, I think she is she on here sometimes, Eric?
Nah, I mean, she it's like once or twice, but she's
Yeah, well, I love her. She's awesome. I really like her. And but I met those people because I'm always in Miami. So if I'm in Miami, I'll definitely hit you up, bro.
Most
Yeah,
definitely.
hit us
Most
up,
definitely.
man.
And I definitely link with everybody.
Awesome.
Let me see.
Great.
Uh,
Awesome.
All right, guys. Well, again, I appreciate everyone's time.
Thank you.
And again, thank you for sticking with it. And it was great. This is one of my favorite sessions of all time.
That's awesome.
That's good. that boy got a smile on his face, like,
We,
yeah.
we went 2 hours. We went 2 hours.
Yeah, we
2
did.
hours.
We were almost 2 hours on this, man.
2
We were over 2
hours.
hours on this. We went 2 hours, man.
I like to hear.
Sorry, we went way over time, but
I'm not a clock watcher. Like the two, Deontay and Ricardo, who signed up. To let y'all know, it's supposed to be an hour.
We're just gonna keep rocking. We're gonna keep
going.
it's church. It's Sunday. It's Sunday afternoon church, man. It's what's gonna be.
Keep going. So it's Saturday at 11 Eastern Standard Time. So I hope to see you.
Okay.
Mello, you got to come on board, bro.
I'll be there.
Let me sign up right now.
Bet.
All right, guys.
All right,
I'll
guys.
sign up right now.
Thank you, Eric.
All right, Bobby.
Have a
Take care,
wonderful
guys.
evening.
Bobby.
Bye, guys. See you later. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right, peace.